In this video, we will see how to go about extending Hive and Pig. Basically, how to write user-defined functions. So let's get going. So let's first start with Pig. Pig is kind of a PL SQL where you can write stuff in kind of SQL-ish or PL SQL kind of steps, and you can get your job done. You don't have to learn Java. But what if Pig does not provide a certain functionality that you want? You are free to extend it. So let's look at how do you go about extending Pig. So in your VM, there is a file called as pig with UDF. Let's look at this. Now, pig with UDF is a file that reads weblogs. Now let's say that there is no upper function in pig. So we will write that function in a jar called as myUDF. So basically we will write Java code, bundle that as a jar as myUDFs, and then we will have, we'll run this UDF. So currently our URI may be in any form. What we really want is we want to convert everything to uppercase. We want everything to be uppercase. So what we need to do is we need to register myudfs.jar and we need to just run our code. There are a couple of things that need to be done. First, we still don't have a weblogs folder and we still haven't dumped some data. So let's first create a folder. In that we need to dump some data in the weblogs folder. So let's do that. So let's unzip weblogs and dump that. So weblogs folder now has some data, and the data looks like a log file. Around 450k logs are there. So one part of our Pig program is done, that we have data in user training weblogs. Now what we want is URI should become capitalized, and to do that we will end up writing Java code. So in our workspace, what we need to do is let's create a new project called as myUDF. In myUDF, we've already created a file called as upper.java, in which we will take one string, and what we are going to return is the uppercase of that. So we take a string and we return that as an uppercase. It gives errors because we don't have pig library. So let's add them. Build path. We'll have to go to user lib pig, and we suddenly see all the errors are all other errors are gone. So one braces was missing. So all we are doing is we are taking a string or a tuple from pig and we are converting that to uppercase. Now let's bundle this as myudfs.jar and let's export it. So what we get is myudfs.jar here, and this is our pig program. Now let's run the pig program. And what we get is all the URIs are completely uppercase. All the URIs are completely uppercase. This is how we can extend pig. This is how we can extend pig. So let's say uppercase functionality was not there. We write Java code and we export that as a jar file. And if we quickly look at a Java code, the function that we call should be the name of the Java class, and package name would be the name of the jar file. And we will be receiving a tuple and we can perform an operation on a tuple. That is how we call UDFs in pig. So the way you go about writing UDFs in pig is, step 1, you write a UDF in Java. Bundle that as a jar file and place it in any directory of your choice. Use a register statement in your pick program to add the jar file. Then call the UDF for each and every tuple and perform your operation to verify your output. This is how we can extend pig. This is how pig can be extended. Now let's talk about how Hive can be extended. In Hive, what we are going to do is we'll first create a table, and from that table we'll insert data into the new table, but for each record that we insert we will perform a UDF written in Python, and the instructions are all here, so nothing much needs to be done. In the exercises folder, the file called as Hive UDF instructions.txt. So first we'll go to Hive, we'll create some data in a table called as udata. We'll then load some data into that table. Later we will create a new table, and to insert data in new table from the old table, we will also call a Python program to call a transformation. So let's do that right now. Let's go to Hive. First, let's create a table in Hive. Let's minimize. So let's create table in Hive. First, let's visit Hive prompt. There we'll create a table called as u_data, which has certain fields. We've successfully created a table in Hive. Next, what we need to do is we need to ingest some data into this table. We need to ingest some data into this table. So let's ingest that data. But for that, let's make sure that we have this data. So right now, the data is supposed to be in home training ML100K u.data. So let's make sure that we have that data. So let's make sure that data is in the path that's conveyed. So let's load this data right now. And what we see is that the data is loaded. Let's minimize this a bit for clarity. So we've created a table in Hive which is called as u_data. For this example, we don't need u_user, so we can ignore these instructions. What we really need is let's use an editor here to open this file. Open this with gedit. So we've created a table udata. We don't need u_user for this exercise, so we can comfortably ignore. Now let's create a new table called as u_data_new. So if we see select count of star from u_data, it's running a map reduce job. So we have around 100k records, and when we look at u_new, so it has 0 records. It has 0 records. Now what we want to do is, if we look at u_data, it just has the time. What we want is u_data_new is, we want user ID, movie ID, rating, but instead of time, what we really want is whether it's a weekday or a weekend. What we really want is whether it's a weekday or a weekend. And to do that, we will need to write a Python code. So let's write this Python code. And in this Python code, all we are doing is we are taking the Unix time and deciding whether this particular time, is it a weekday or not a weekday? Is it a weekday or not a weekday? Once we do that, we'll get to Hive and add this file. And it's time to now run an insert select command. Insert override table u_data new, select transform. So it will call the transform, it'll call the Python, and it'll insert data, which will be whether it's a weekday or a weekend. The error is because we've missed importing statements in Python script. So let's import them. What we do now is simply save it and run the command again. So what we see now is when we do select star from U data, we see Unix timestamp, but when we do U underscore data underscore new, we see whether it was a weekday or weekend and what day it was. That is how we go about extending Hive. So in this particular video, we've seen how to go about extending Hive and Pig. We've seen how to do Pig, where we write Java code and export as jar. In Hive, we can write Python or Java, add that to the path, and basically run our insert select command. That is how we call extending, or that is how we extend Hive. Thanks for watching this video.